Hello and welcome back to an episode of the CTO Show with Mehmet. Today I'm very pleased. Joining me from Warsaw, Poland, Jarek Sygitowicz. He is the Chief Strategy Officer and co-founder of Authologic. Jarek, thank you very, very much for being here with me today. I really appreciate, the time to record this episode together. Today we're gonna talk about digital identity. We're gonna talk about regulation, fraud, and of course AI and what the market is going towards to in that space and the trends. Without further ado, as usual, I don't steal much from my guest time. Yarek, thank you again for being here on the show. Tell us a little bit more about you, your background, your journey, and what you're currently up to, and then we can dive into the conversation. So the floor is yours.
Sure. Thank you very much for inviting me to the show. My name is Jarek. I'm a co-founder of Authologic. We are building a global EID hub. So we aggregate and orchestrate all the government-issued digital IDs, identity wallets, and bank IDs into a single API. And but we are EID first identity infrastructure. There is a very big shift right now on in the identity space from the legacy, plastic documents to digital IDs. You're based in Dubai, so you probably use UAE Pass. So we call it a Gen 1 EID, centralized wallets. Currently, the whole world is moving towards next generation identity based on verifiable credentials technology.
Mm-hmm.
And we are kind of building a platform or the infrastructure that is connecting the legacy world, so IDV using plastic documents, the Gen 1 EIDs and bank IDs, and the next generation digital identity into single platform. Because the biggest problem with EIDs has always been the adoption rates. So even though it's growing very rapidly right now, you still need to have legacy methods to verify identity. So Authologic is a one-stop shop that gives all the users ability to verify identity. But the uniqueness of our platform is that we are EID first. So we will check whether you have this next generation EIDs or identity wallets first. If you do, you will get the most pleasant experience, like half a second verification. If not, then we will fall back. So basically, our product is EID first, and whatever everyone else has as a product for identity, for us is a fallback. That's Autologic.
Great, and thank you, because I was planning to ask you also, like, the reason why, and you just explained this, Gen 1 and Gen 2 of AIDs. Now, but before this, let's go back maybe one step, and to just talk about the the KYCs and these things, that how people started to interact with these kinds of technologies. So people, when think about identity as login screen or KYC checks, so they think about the login, right? So they think it's only that, just the login page. From your perspective, like, what does a digital identity infrastructure actually should be look like?
Okay, so that's an interesting question. So what you mean by login screen is authentication, actually, not ID
Right.
verification. So that's the difference. But let me back up and tell you what was the history of identity on the internet, right? And
Please,
why
yes.
we need to have different infrastructure today, because the world has completely changed. So the at the beginning of the internet, basically, you had no way of telling who is on the other end of the line. So this was this famous New York Post or New York Times cartoon where there's two dogs sitting in by the computer and saying, like, on the internet nobody knows that you are a dog, right? So
Yeah.
so this was and the natural way, and the first ID verification method was actually an email from the provider. So, for example, at the beginnings of PayPal, they verified people by asking them to email pictures of the plastic documents, right? So you actually were sending by email pictures of your passport or driving license, and this was the beginning. Then it evolved to become a system that will automatically check validity of your document. So that the picture was still taken, but there was a database where you can see whether the picture actually matches with the format from the given year. There was an OCR process where you can extract the data from the document, and they added also the process of checking your biometric features of your face and comparing it to the biometric features of the face that is on the document. So this is kind of a state of the art and currently gold standard of the ID verification online. And anyone that went through the KYC process went through the process of photographing their own documents back and front, and then doing the selfie check or liveness check. So, doing some kind of head movements, all kinds of stuff to prove that you are the same person that on an ID document. So this was like, we call it legacy.
Mm-hmm.
And then the COVID hit. And we decided, because we were working for the bank, we decided like, okay, everyone, so identity on the internet was kind of an edge case till COVID. Like people were onboarding to financial services, but it wasn't really like, you weren't doing this every day, or, you were doing this once a year or something. And COVID actually took it to the next level. Like identity on the internet started to become a thing because of the fact that everyone was locked out. The second thing that you had to, like people discovered that a lot of services, like government services, need to be like, you cannot go to your local government to do something. You need to be online because of COVID. So actually, governments started to see this as a problem that current state of the art is not so secure, and it's really inconvenient, right? So on the one hand, security is a problem, but on the other hand, it costs a lot to actually process this kind of ID check. And so the government started to work on different things. So in Dubai, for example, during COVID, you came up with UAE Pass. So this EID that once you onboarded your documents, you could reuse this identity for many different purposes. Dealing with the local government, and they were adding additional services to this. So the same thing happened across the world, actually, and then on top of the problem of COVID, and when the government started to realize that there is a new identity infrastructure needed, they employed banks to help. So, for example, there was a big surge of bank IDs across different geographies, and identity wallets as well in Europe. So we have mObywatel as a kind of equivalent of UAE Pass with 11 million users, and it's being used 1 million times a day. So this adoption skyrocketed because of COVID, and COVID actually stopped being a problem. The development was running on, let's say, convenience. So people thought that it makes more sense for them to have the identity documents in the phone rather than in a plastic in their physical wallet, because the wallet is going away, because you have all the car keys, payment cards, everything else is in your phone as well. So why not the documents, right? So this was the kind of convenience driven, and now we have another force. This next force is AI. Like you
Mm-hmm.
cannot tell whether you see something online is real or not, and whether you are dealing with a living person or a bot, right? So there is a additional force, and because of that, the governments are pushing even stronger on the regulation side, and the regulation is the final kind of ultimate force of adoption for EIDs. There is two sides to the regulations that are being developed right now. So the first one is age proofing of the internet. So we have, like, everyone understands that not everybody, especially kids, should have access to specific content or social media, right? So it's
Right.
going global right now. Every country is thinking about this. EU, US, Australia, Canada. Everyone is thinking about this or implementing this. So famously, Online Safety Act in the UK. Many other regulations across the globe. So the content and edge verification is one thing, but the other thing is that you know the world is unstable place right now. Uh, AML, so anti-money laundering, is becoming a very, very big thing. So you don't want to have Russians, for example, transferring money without being checked. So you have sanction lists. You need to have ID verification. Who is actually moving money and to whom? Right. So this is additional kind of angle of regulation. So AML and KYC is part of this AML process. So you have the kind of second very big force that is driving adoption. So the governments are developing right now this next generation identity based on verifiable credentials. Verifiable credentials very quickly is about separating the issuer, the government, from the wallet. So today, the wallet is basically connected to the government, and every time you use the wallet, they kind of see this event. The verifiable credentials technology separates issuer from the wallet. Once you use the wallet, the issuer doesn't know. So the issuer of the documents doesn't know that you used the document. It mimics a bit the plastic document behavior, because if you have a plastic document, you go to the pub and someone asks you to prove that you are over 18, you can show them the document that the government doesn't know that you are at this pub, right? So the verifiable credentials technology is doing that. And this next generation technology is being mandated. So in Europe, European Union, all 27 countries will issue the wallets in December this year.
Mm-hmm.
And next year, it'll be mandated on all the financial institutions that they need to accept these digital identity wallets. We have different flavors of those kind of regulations across the world, and we have a mixture of convenience-based adoption and regulatory-driven adoption of EIDs across the world. Right now, the adoption is skyrocketing, and it's connected to all those forces that I mentioned before.
Right. Yeah, like with all these changes and all these use cases is like including, of course, first and foremost, proving it's me, right? Like it's my own identity, and then going and
Yeah.
doing some financial transactions. So of course there's the government aspect of it, there's the financial aspect of it. Are you seeing like still some people outside of these two, I would say, use cases are missing on what's happening here and why there's a better reason for them to migrate, because you mentioned about proving your identity on the internet, and I think you talked about the AI. Of course, like we can discuss maybe for hours and hours, and I had a lot of guests with me here discussing how AI and deepfakes are exploding now. And actually, we were discussing this, believe it or not, even 3 years ago when ChatGPT was it's in infancy, I would say, in the
Yeah.
hands of people. Um, but beside, government use case and financial use case, where do you see there's a work to be done, to get or adopt, I would say, what you call it, the IDs, like next generation version 2.0, let's say, on a larger scale.
The problem of EID adoption is a actually marketplace problem. So you have two sides to the equation. So the first side is an acceptance network. So how many places actually allow you to use your EID, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in case of European Union, the solution to this problem is a mandate on acceptance. So basically, the thing that is happening is that the regulators said that utility companies, healthcare, financial institutions, banks, telecom institutions, and many others, lawyers, they have to accept digital identity in 2027. That's a mandate. Like if you don't accept that, you will be fined. Uh, And the second mandate they did, so the second element of the adoption is the user. Like you need to have a person with an actual EID to use it, right? So they don't want to mandate the usage. So they don't want to go to you and say like you have to have an EID because it's culturally, you know, it's a problem. Like people will push back.
Right.
Typically, when you're if somebody tells you to do something, you're pushing back, especially if it's a government, right? So the clever part is that they mandated the states, so member states of European Union, to issue the wallets, and they say like, okay, the users will see the difference in convenience of having digital documents. So not having not like you won't be forced to carry around your plastic document. You can have it in the digital form. So this is the second part of the marketplace. So once the marketplace is established, when you have the acceptance network and you have the users, this will start a positive kind of reinforcement cycle, right? So you have a situation where the more users you have, more businesses would like to accept, and vice versa. More places you can use your EID, more users will have an EID to because it's more convenient. What is interesting about the IDs is actually it's not only about the convenience, because when we discuss the status quo today, the biggest problems with the biggest problem with identity verification online currently is cost. It's very costly to do the ID check, because you have to have a lot of computing power to do the OCR to check whether it's not AI generated or not. You have to have a lot of computing power to prevent people to use deepfakes, right? You need to do all kinds of analysis of the image that you are receiving to check whether this is not, for example, projected from the high definition monitor, because the typical fraud is like you have a monitor, you have a camera, you do the deepfake, and the telephone is reading the image from the high definition monitor. So that's the thing that you need to do. It's very costly. On top of that, to be on the safe side, you need to have a lot of anti-fraud systems, like detect from which country the session is coming from. All kinds of database integrations, like a lot of stuff that you need to do to make sure that the image you are receiving is legit. Right? So it's very costly. And on top of that, because it's not super still foolproof, a lot of regulators are mandating the companies or regulated companies to actually go through the manual reviews. So banks, for example, they cannot just automatically accept images, even if it's checked by AI or some sort. Yet they need to push it to the people that will actually look at the pictures and say, yes, this is legit. So in this day and age, by the way, today, I'm looking at Twitter and I have no idea whether it's AI generated or not. This is like, we discussed this before the call. Like, I see the rocket hitting Dubai. I have no idea whether it's real or not. There's
Yeah.
like, and I need to get someone to validate this for me, because this is so good that I cannot tell. So, if you have a financial institution and let's say some people in the call center looking at the pictures, there's no way they can tell, right? So this is the cost element. So people, manual verifications, a lot of technology to prevent. And now if you sum it up, you have very poor user experience. You have a lot of cost and a lot of risk associated to the problem. On the flip side, with EID, you have a transaction that takes half a second. It's cryptographically signed, and there is no human involved. It's fully automatic. So for the companies to adopt this, it's a complete no-brainer. Of course, the only problem is the adoption again. So we help with that. So we minimize the risk of adopting EIDs, because for everyone that has an EID, we can detect whether the device is capable of having EID. We can make it super easy for them to use it automatically. And if they don't have an EID, we will fall back automatically to something else. And this will be the most convenient method for the given users. So, for example, if we detect that you are coming from Dubai, the connection is from Dubai, we will fall back to UAE Pass if you don't have your ID in Apple Wallet, for example, or Google Wallet.
Got it. Now you mentioned about putting this, let's say for European Union, 27 countries, and now how do you make this? And I know like you described the company as global EID hub, right? So uh, how the orchestration with other EIDs, right, and other digital framework could work in real life. And just out of curiosity, because really I don't know the answer, and sorry for my ignorance, like how much these different providers are willing to exchange and interchange the information, let's say between the EU and maybe Dubai, or maybe another country, or maybe another block.
Yeah, so this is actually a very big technical challenge, because a lot of the governments are mandating the processors to keep the data inside the country. So this is the case for the countries in the Gulf region, for example, but not only in Asia. We have similar situations in Europe as well. We typically so we have a distributed network of servers, and we keep the data inside. And once the data is inside, you can use the legal framework to like, because you have a legal framework to obtain the data from the digital wallet or digital identity provider. Once you have it inside, it's legally owned by the data administrator, so the company on behalf of which we are working. And then, based on legal frameworks developed between the country A and the region B, for example, there's mutual agreements between the European Union and the Gulf countries to transfer the data between our regions. So that based on this legal framework, we can transfer this. Again, we are working on behalf of the specific entity, like typically financial institution. So this is fully, let's say, legally checked and yeah, legal.
Yannick, for the discussion, I think there is something very important you mentioned a couple of minutes ago regarding the adoption, right? And it's on the user side, right? Now, I know you can force things by law, right? And um, for example, the UAE pass here in the UAE, like you cannot do some transactions if you don't actually, yeah, like I think majority of the transactions now you can do that without a UAE pass, right? Still, there
Interesting.
are some exceptions. I believe there are some exceptions where, like, if you have a disability or something like this, you can go to a center and someone like would do that manually for you. But when we mentioned the term wallet and when we mentioned the identity wallet, sometimes, and this has also been a topic of discussion on this show, I think around 1 year ago, um, it turns out like people have this kind of, I would say, fear of, the privacy, of this wallet,
Yeah.
who is in control. We know, like, and we tell people data is encrypted, right? And it's like it's your phone, it's residing in your device. But still there's this, I would say, talk from time to time. And like, for example, in many countries they were talking about this, even digital currency, which is the controlled by central
Mhm.
banks, and they, yeah, right. So all these ideas might, trigger, these questions from the user perspective for the individuals. Do
Yeah.
you see this an obstacle, or do we have a clear answer for that? Who controls actually the digital data and the
Yeah,
digital
yeah,
wallet?
absolutely. Absolutely. So this is a great question. So I can tell you one thing. So it's a meme. I think that EID is a tool for the government to control its citizens.
Yeah.
Especially with the next generation or Gen 2 EIDs, it's completely not the case. And I will give you an example. Juxtaposing this to the current status quo, right? So typically when you are being asked, let's use age verification. You want to log into the service provider of content,
Right.
and they ask you to verify your age using your picture of the driving license.
Mm-hmm.
So on the driving license, there is a picture of you. There is all information about you, including your address. And if the content provider is really thorough, they will ask you to do a selfie check as well. So it's not only the picture on your document, it's the latest picture you have, and all the biometric features of your face are being sent. This is the status quo right now. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
imagine, and this is the traditional the traditional ID verification that people are okay with. So you're transferring where you live, who you are, how you look, and in case of data leak, the whole document is being leaked. Like picture of your so you can basically impersonate anyone on the internet using this picture of your driving license. So let's check how it works on the EID side. So the next generation wallets, they got the credentials from the issuer. So the issuer has no idea what you do with it. It sits on your phone. So basically, here is my digital credential. Now that the service provider is asking me, my wallet, if I'm over 18 or over 21, and my wallet will respond with yes or no. Only response, no data, no biometric information, no pictures, nothing. Just true or false from my phone. So, which method is more secure and more privacy preserving? This is the question to the audience.
Right. And I can argue also, and I say, I tell people this sometimes. I said, guys, like you gave, the social media providers much more than actually any ID would ask you to provide.
This is small potatoes. Then I can tell you one thing. So my colleague yesterday, because he's using Claude a lot, right? AI.
Hmm.
So he's chatting with Claude, and AI agents today, they remember what you said before. So they have a persistence. So he was chatting about some, do my self assessment, how I'm doing, like this kind of
Yeah.
introspective questions, and he got answers from AI that was really shocking to him. So AI inferred, based on his previous questions and previous discussions, a lot of information about him. He never gave this information, but the AI was able to fetch information from the internet, plus inferred some information from the previous discussion and build kind of profile. So the same thing happens on Facebook, on TikTok, on Instagram, everywhere else. So I would argue that EIDs are the only way we can preserve because this is you can use pseudonyms within EIDs. There's a lot of concepts, ZK proofs, so zero knowledge proofs. So you can switch identity. So for example, if you think that the AI knows too much about you, you can switch using your EID. So this is kind of the thing that is protecting the privacy of the users, not enabling the government to do the I don't know, surveillance, because the real surveillance is happening on the ad platform, because they do the
Mm.
profiling of yourself for money.
Absolutely. Now, Eric, like without going into technical details, I would say, and deep diving. Although, like people ask me why you call it CTO show, we don't dive too much technical. I don't want to bore people with too much technical details. But when it comes to implementation, like if a government entity or a bank or any other clients comes to you, how easy it's to migrate from the legacy to your platform today?
The good news is that you don't have to migrate from the legacy. You can, if you have something, we will use your thing as a
Hmm.
fallback. So it's great. So we don't ask you to switch. A lot of clients are actually migrating because then they have everything on one platform. So the visibility of data, the management of data is much easier. In terms of integration with us, we have multiple different modules. So the first thing that you need to have is kind of the acceptance ability to accept data from different wallets, different ID schemes. So this is the one platform, and this is typically connected to the onboarding flows. So you typically do IDV or ID checks during the onboarding to financial services or gambling or crypto or whatever. So this is kind of an onboarding element. The second thing is that many companies and especially banks want to issue credentials to the wallets because then they can do like, okay, we talking about the login box, right?
Hmm.
So the typical process in Europe in a couple of months will be that you are using your wallet to prove your identity. You are being asked to accept the token, so the credential from the bank, for example, to the wallet. So in the wallet, you have a bank card or a bank key that will be used to authenticate you back to your account. So instead of using something else like your ID to log in, you use your bank card or bank key to log in. And you use the same bank key to authenticate your card transaction or money transfers, right? So the issuing of credentials is the second module. So it's also easy to use and easy to integrate. It needs to be integrated with the data source about the users, what kind of credentials you wanna issue, right? And this is the second part. We have the Omni panel, so the back office system. We have front end intelligence, so the system that actually detects what kind of capabilities your device have, what kind of EIDs you can use, and kind of maintaining or orchestrating the process in a way that it's most convenient for you and for the organization. So there's multiple different elements, but in essence, integrating us is super easy. The biggest job is to think about the processes that you want to modernize, because typically, when you have EID, the process of onboarding can be completely different, because this from the UAE past. Like you have the tip, like on board with the legacy stuff, so fill out all the forms, do the pictures, etc., or do the quick pass, like click here, UAE pass will give us all the data, and you are done. So this is the typical problem for the companies. They need to kind of redesign some of the processes. In Europe, what is the big challenge right now, and we are helping our customers with this challenge, is that we are not touching only the onboarding processes. We also touch the payment processes, because the credential that I mentioned is used for payments as well. So you need to give users an option to use the credential for payment authorization, and this touches a lot of different processes, systems, etc. So it's something that we help with as well.
Yeah, yeah, because I think there's here, at least in the UAE, majority of the banks, they were forced recently, and I'm not sure if that can help in that use case. Um, you know, People are familiar, sometimes when you do a transaction on your debit or credit card, you
Yeah,
receive an OTP using
OTP. Yeah,
SMS. Yeah,
yeah.
so
It's been
now they're
banned in yeah.
so now so the solution they came up with is that actually the OTP is embedded within the banking application itself, instead of. But yeah, I'm trying to imagine, like if you have, like, it's like single ID that will prove who you are wherever you are now. But if we want to take the risk, Yarek, like, and to make it also clear from avoiding single point of failure perspective. So if my phones falls in the wrong hands, for example, what's the break glass mechanism in this situation?
So it depends on what kind of phone do you have. So I'm using iPhone. So if my iPhone gets stolen, I can wipe it remotely.
True.
And if your wallet gets stolen and you have a plastic card, then you have a
Can
problem.
be used.
You cannot wipe it remotely, the plastic document or a passport. So
True.
that's a problem. And second thing is like most of the phones are encrypted, so it's very hard to break. Yeah, so it's I would say it's much more secure than the standard physical document.
Right. I gotta ask you a question, not related to the technology, but more related for the company as a startup, because I know like you went through Y Combinator. So how that experience changed the way you build the company, Yarek?
Um, so YC is a gift that keeps on giving. I would say so. The thing that was really interesting is that they focus you on the problem you're trying to solve, and you know trying to understand the problem as deeply as possible, and kind of build something that people want. So if you the first mantra of YC is talk to your users, talk to your customers, right? And this is because most of the companies are being created backwards, I would say. So you have this brilliant idea that I will do X and this is much
Hmm.
better than whatever status quo is, and then you are pushing this to the market. In YC, it's the other way around. So you talk to the users or the customers, you try to understand what is the problem they have. And once you understand the problem deeply, you try to build a elegant solution that solves the problem in the best way possible. So, for example, in case of Authologic, the thing that we understood is even though we think that EIDs are the best solution to the identity problem, our platform is very pragmatic because we connect everything IDV Gen 1, Gen 2 on one platform. So we solve the problem of onboarding or payments for the users because the problem is not accept EIDs. The problem is do the most convenient and most cost effective and least fraudulent onboarding experience for the users that is available. So this is the problem statement, and we solve it by building the platform that is connecting the legacy with the future of identity, and basically making it super convenient for anyone in the best way possible, right? So this is the lesson that we took to heart. I see.
And like I would say, kudos to you and the team, because coming from kind of cybersecurity background, compliance, so I understand these things. It's easy because usually people they don't share much of their pain, so getting that out of them is by itself a challenge. So congratulations, Yarek, on being able to talk to these folks, because especially banks, I've dealt a lot of them. I respect these institutions because really, they are under high pressure for all reasons we know. Transactions should be like instant. At the same time, they need to make sure that there's no anti-money laundering. They know their customers and all this. So sharing these challenges is by itself a challenge, I would say. So that's
Yeah.
amazing, to hear this. Now, I before like we wrap it up, I want to come back to the AI part because I think I didn't ask you this important question. So you mentioned about like all how the technology is also allowing us to get these deep fakes and you know get the bad guys, catch them. But at the same time, we know how much fast the AI is going, and we just discussed it
Yeah.
there. Um, do you see you know a way that we really can always be step ahead of the AI when it comes to protecting the identity. And because now identity is taking different forms and shapes, including voice, video. It's not only the deep fake we see, or like generating images or a couple of videos and putting them on the internet. We heard about the situation that happened, people calling on Zoom and asking for transactions and all this.
Yeah.
So can we stay ahead of the bad guys in the age of AI? This, from I would say compliance and security perspective.
Yeah, so this is something that we are actually trying to build. So the identity infrastructure on the internet, so this layer of identity needs to be built, right? And I think that the right technology for that is open standards, so verifiable credentials in an open standard, and it needs to be built into all the elements that we are using. So you can very quickly, if someone calls you, you can verify that this is the person that you know is calling you, right? So this is a cryptographically signed either credential or like zero knowledge proof that this is the person that you know is calling you, right? And this will be embedded, embedded into the infrastructure of the internet and AI agents, because AI is a bad like actor in this scenario that you described, or the fraudster using AI. But also we have a situation where AI is a good actor, is an agent that is acting on your behalf. So, for example, let's say that you want your agent to buy your tickets to the plane tickets to Warsaw, for example. So
Yeah,
it needs to have a wallet. So the Emirates Airlines understand that the agent is acting on your behalf, and it knows, it can pay, so it needs to have a wallet to pay. It needs to have the identity and transfer this identity to Emirates, etc. So this is the kind of flip side of AI, and we are thinking about the good and the bad scenarios. So how to prevent fraudsters, and how to detect that you are talking to the person that you talked to before, or someone new that is trying to look like the person that you talked before, and the good scenarios, which is like agents doing your chores, right, on online. So that's the thing, and both of those situations will actually run on the same technology and the same standards, and we are building this infrastructure, and we are building this with the platform providers. Of course, we are working with them. So it's like a very, very big task, and there's
right.
many companies that doing that. It's not like we are only one, thank God, but we are the best. So
Yeah, good. I know, like it's gotta, as they say, like it takes a village to do something meaningful, and
yeah.
I'm sure, like the company Authologic and the you and the rest of the team would because I like how technology makes my life easy. So, for example, like we discussed, maybe the UAE pass, so for people who are not based in the UAE. So, this is basically how we log into majority of the government related service. Actually, even some banks to started to even embed
Mhm.
it as an option if you don't want to use the traditional, even with the Face ID or Touch ID, if you still use an old phone. So they are trying to unify it in a way, and I appreciate the technology helping us. I'm aware, like, yeah, bad guys would come, but I'm always optimistic, that, technology also would find solutions for these things. So no doubt that Yarek, you and the team would do fantastic job in this. And saying that, where people can learn more and get in touch.
So you get in touch on LinkedIn. We have a profile, Authologic, and of course authologic.com, our website. So you can go there. We have a blog section that describes more, about the technology, but also the regulations and the whole legal structure of the EIDs on the internet.
Great. Yarek, I can't thank you enough for this great discussion. It's eye-opening. It's good for also anyone in the financial sector, government, and other sectors, I think, because identity, as you mentioned, like it's gonna be everywhere, and we
Yeah.
need to prove the identity and verify our identity. So I would advise them to go check the website. I'm gonna put all the links in the show notes. So if you're listening on your favorite podcasting app, you'll find the links. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll find them in description. And at the end, as always, this is how I end my episode. This is for the audience. If you just discovered us by luck, thank you for passing by. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did so, please give me a favor and subscribe, share it with your friends and colleagues. And if you are one of the fantastic fans that keeps coming again and again, you made me so proud. Last week, and for sake of transparency, my audience know this. We're recording on 4th of March. So last week, first time something new happened. I keep telling people about the podcast being, in the top 200 chart in one of the countries every week since last 2 years. So something special happened last week. Actually, we entered into 8 top 200 charts in 5 countries. So this is first time we're doing this, and this cannot happen without people must have been telling other people to check the show. So thank you very much, for the support. And we are on a mission just to make sure that we bring people like Yarek, companies, great companies like Authologic, to talk about what they're doing, and of course helping in spreading the knowledge about the latest in the world of technology and business. So thank you very much for this, and as I say always, stay tuned for a new episode very soon. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.